to warm you up, I'm going to do a lightning round, which I don't typically do.
I love lightning rounds. I do, yeah.
Okay, tacos or pizza?
Yeah, come
Favorite
on.
emoji?
Favorite emoji? I think I'm going with the monkey one that covers his face.
Okay.
Yeah, I use that one. It's on my top emoji list. I use it all the time. Yeah.
80s or 90s?
90s. Well, 90s music, but 80s style.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, gold or silver?
Gold.
Yes. Nicki or Cardi?
I like money, man.
It's all good. Olympia or Alexis?
Oh, that's not fair. That one's not fair.
All right, Lakers or Clippers?
I'm from LA, and so growing up in the 90s, we were all, Lakers fans, as we all supported Michael. Well, I was on the tennis court a lot. I usually never have this much fun, so you guys are great.
IG or Twitter?
Wow, Twitter's made a huge comeback, so I don't know, it depends. If I'm looking for articles and something really exciting, like reading about TechCrunch, I love Twitter. But if I'm looking for inspiration or, looking for design stuff, I look on Instagram, so it's a little bit of both.
Cool. Bath or shower?
Yeah, definitely shower time.
Dog or cat?
Yeah.
Okay, money or free time?
Free time. Yeah.
Makes sense. Cardio or weights?
Cardio, for sure. For
Cool.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it was so interesting, all my friends that knew I was doing this in the last week, it was so amazing for me getting all the feedback from them about what you mean to them. And it's so interesting how you mean so many different things to different people. And it was fascinating to me because it was like, I have a friend who's a law school professor who's like, she's this. And then I have an activist friend who's like, she's representative of where Black people have come up to this point in time. And, it's like everybody has all these different things about you. And I'm just wondering how that feels. Like when you were growing up and playing tennis, like did you ever think that you would be all these things or?
Yeah, not at all. Like I said, I'm from LA. I grew up in Compton, and I had a great time when I was with my parents and my sisters, and we were really, really excited just to be a part of such a great thing. And my dad always told us, me and my sister Venus, they always told us that we would be able to win Grand Slams and we would go to Wimbledon one day, and I believed him, but I don't even think was able to prepare us for the movement that we were able to make and cause a stir into tennis, and being able to go out there and win not only one but multiple Grand Slams and dominate and be in the final of every Grand Slam for years was something that ultimately I definitely didn't expect. I expected to win a Grand Slam and that was it, but as I realized my desire to be the best was basically insatiable, and I never wanted to stop, and I always had bigger goals that I always wanted to reach. And in that process, it became bigger than me, and it became more about everyone else and everyone in this room and everyone that's not in this room. And I've been able to really embrace that.
So in my little life, I've noticed how as you continue to grow and do things, there's so many people that project different things onto you. For example, they project onto me that I should be this, or I should do this, or because I'm this, I should X. And that's really difficult, like, for me, like, navigating my own truth through that. Have you experienced that where, I mean, I can only imagine you've received so many people that project different things on you, so how do you kind of like sift through that and find you?
Well, I think it's really important to have an open ear to some things, but I also think it's really important to know the direction that you want to go in and to have a vision for yourself. And so for me, obviously there's a lot of people, especially a while ago, that would say, you need to do this, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing this. But ultimately, you have to do what you're passionate about, or else you're not going to be successful at it, and it's just going to feel very unauthentic. And for me, it's really just about being super authentic and being true to yourself and representing that. And so that's what I try to do.
So I saw this one interview that Venus was doing, and your dad sort of like interrupts the moderator. Have you guys seen that video? Yes. It's so dope. And he just like cuts him off, and it, you know, gets like chastises him for trying to tear her down. And I'm wondering, like, from your perspective, how was that as a kid? You know, like, were you embarrassed? Did you appreciate it? Did you, like...
I definitely was a little young, and I remember that moment. I was really young, and Venus was super young. She's a year older than me, so I was really not able to understand a lot that was going on, and I didn't understand the meaning of everything until the video resurfaced a couple years ago or a year ago, and I remember thinking, gosh, I remember that, and how strong my dad was to be able to do that in the climate that we live in the world that we live in, and to not be afraid to stand up and protect his daughter. And as a black man, to do that in this country, it's been really honorable to watch. And it's been really amazing to have him as my father and as my mentor and as someone that I can really grow up and understand how to be strong, how to be amazing, and how to be fierce in our world.
So, you've essentially, through tennis, I feel like tennis is just like your vehicle in this world, or it is one of your vehicles, really, because you're so multifaceted. And through these last days, especially, I realized how dimensional you really are. You're just like a hologram, where it's like every time you turn, it's like a different facet sort of exposes itself. And I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. But you really charted your own path in a way that there's nobody that's ever been like you. And how do you, that's difficult. You have to go up against a lot of inertia in order to do something like that. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you ground yourself, or where do you find memory of yourself? In what things?
Yeah, well, again, it was really organic. I never expected to be in this position growing up. I expected just to go out there and win tournaments, but you obviously don't think about, especially at that age, you don't think about all the stuff that kind of comes along with everything. And so, it just happened really organically. And I realized at some point, well, this is bigger than me, and I'm standing up for millions of people and women and people of all colors, that just don't have an opportunity to have their voice be heard, seen, or felt. And it's interesting because sometimes I go through things, and at the end of the day, I think, okay, well, it happened to me, and maybe it won't happen to the next person, and how do I make it better so the person behind me doesn't have to experience that? And a really famous tennis player that was ahead of me, her name was Althea Gibson. She was in the 50s. I remember reading her book, and I had the opportunity to meet her, and I just remember thinking how she had to sleep in cars, and she couldn't find doubles partners, and she couldn't do so much. And the reason I loved that story was because I didn't have to do that. So when I think about, if I'm going through something and if it feels tough, I think about what she did and how the doors opened so much for me, and what I'm going through is a lot less than that. And so what I go through for the next person, it'll be a lot less for them, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of my mind frame when I'm going through different obstacles, and I always just try to keep it like that.
That's very noble. you is that you never forget where you came from. Like, never. And one of the stories that I recently heard about you actually was that, so you've been here for how many days? Like a few days. We've been doing this pop-up for a few, like since Friday. And the other day, I guess they were driving. You guys were driving in a black car, and Serena's car broke down in Compton. And the drive, everybody's obviously like freaking out, like, oh God, we gotta get her car, we gotta do whatever. And then she was like, I'm cool, and she got out the car and got herself an Uber X and got into like a little Chevy Malibu and took the Uber X to her next destination, and I just love that so much.
Well, I was there for my charity, the Yetundi Price Resource Center, and so we help a lot of people that have unfortunately dealt with gun violence, like my sister unfortunately dealt with. And so I try to go to the resource center when I can, and just support it and talk to women and get them to get through different things. So I was there and I was, doing my thing, and then the car broke down. I'm like, how does this happen? Like, how does a car break down? And I had to get here for something, for the opening of the pop-up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna make it to my own store on time. Like, you go into defense mode. So I'm like, let me get an Uber.
Wait. And then they came to Fairfax and got dropped off on the wrong side.
It was a strange day.
They got dropped off like 5 blocks away from where they should be. And, Rakia, who was with her, was like, well, let's get in a car, let's do something. And then Serena whipped out her phone and had the Bird app. And got on her Bird and wrote down Fairfax.
Listen, I'm versatile. I'm adaptable. You gotta be ready. You're not be ready for anything. What can I say?
My point
I'm just me,
My point in saying that is that I always feel like when you're truly in your purpose, like when you're fully in your calling, you can't even take credit for it really, because you know that you're just like a vessel. And to maintain that through all these years, to have such a strong knowing of who you are, that you haven't let any of that turn you into somebody else.
Well, I think the way I was raised and being my religion, I feel like the most thing that I take out of it is humility. And none of us is greater than God, and we all are so small in the big scheme of things. Who am I compared to anyone else? Ultimately we're all the same people. And I never want to lose my humility. Plus my mom will never let me. She's so quick to remind me. So, one thing that I love is humility is the one thing that truly makes you great. And so that's something I always keep near to me more than anything else.
Do you have a spiritual practice?
Yes, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I'm trying studying to be Jehovah's Witness. So, yeah.
What does that look like daily? Is it like a practice for you, or do you pray?
Well, it's just your lifestyle. I think praying is super important, especially for me. And just having, high standards for yourself and, putting God first, I think is super important. Again, especially for me, and it really works out. And I think growing up the way I have and sticking close to it has really helped me.
Yeah. Did you ever connect with Prince?
Actually, I did, yeah, and it was, we had a tremendous amount of conversation, really, really close. It was really tough for us, yeah.
The other thing that I love about you is that you're special in the way that you inhabit so many, you're so balanced in terms of masculine qualities and feminine qualities, which is, I believe, the goal for all of us. We should all have that, interchanging balance. Through all this, you go and you dominate on the court, and then you walk into your pop-up and you're flirty and you choreograph your own dances. You just where did you I was always when I think of you growing up, I'm she must have been practicing all the time. How or when did you have time to nurture this other side of you, or is it just something that always?
So I always loved fashion. I would always sew outfits when I was younger for my dolls. I didn't have a Koi Koi doll, but I had but I used to make outfits for them. So that's kind of how I started in fashion. Then I went to fashion school and yada yada. And then as for the other stuff, like my dad always said that an athlete can't just do one sport. So he put us in ballet, he put us in tap, he put us in jazz, and
Wow.
we had a lot of fun. And I guess that's why I love to dance, you know, because I've always just remember like going to class and learning the routine for Hey Mickey, you know. That was my first one. And yeah, it just never really left me. So it's just all that combined, and then being really fierce on the court, and then, you know, it kind of just stuck with us. And when I design, like one of our sweaters we have, it's like, it says, I am beautiful, but I'm strong too. Because you don't have to just be one, you can be both. And you can be beautiful. Yeah, exactly. You can be beautiful and you can be strong. And it means it's so much deeper than just those words. But yeah, that's why I just try to sometimes design some stuff and I put some powerful sayings behind it.
So one other thing that I learned about you recently is that you also paint. And you have like she has like full-on paintings in her house. And
I'm an artist. I'm an artist.
Like
you know.
all of
Outside of tennis, I'm an artist. Fashion is art, you know, sketching is art, you know, so obviously I go into painting and it's releasing for me. Whenever, the other day, or like a couple months ago, I was incredibly upset. I got home and I just started painting, and it felt really, really good. And I started this whole new project, and it's a great way to release different things. And you could tell my paintings when I'm mad or sad because the colors are different. So yeah, those are all red, but yeah, those are but it's really fun for me because sometimes there's no other way to express kind of emotions, and we as Black women are always taught to be strong because we've been the backbone of our family for hundreds of years. We've been the backbone, and we're taught to be strong and to hold the family up, but we're never taught that it's okay to be vulnerable. We're okay that if we're not feeling good, it's okay to say, you know. So I've really been trying to embrace that side and just say I'm vulnerable and I'm okay with that, and it's okay for me to be vulnerable. It doesn't matter what I look like. You know, I'm happy that I am vulnerable. So I feel like painting has been giving me that, you know, outlet, just like release to kind of do that. And that's one thing that we do at the Resource Center is when kids come in, we give them different opportunities that they can, you know, express themselves through the awful things that they've been through.
Tell me more about the Resource Center.
So it's a center in Compton that we opened after my sister. Her name is Yetundi Price. And she was our family resource. I like to think of it that way because growing up, she was the oldest. There's 5 of us. We went by numbers because there were so many of us. I'm number 5. Number 3 is actually over there. So Tundi was number 1. And, you know, she was like the oldest and the resource, and she did everything for us. She used to take us school shopping because our parents couldn't afford it, and she had a job and spent her own money. I can't say I would have done that for my younger sister. I mean, who does that, you know? So she was just that person. She was so loving and so caring. And unfortunately, through gun violence, she was unfortunately killed. And that was hard for our family. This was back in 2004, so 2003. So then we just all, you know, decided to open up a center for her and to help other people and families and kids. Because what people don't realize is when gun violence strikes, it's not just the family that's affected or the husband or the wife or the kids. It's the friends. It's the co-workers, it's the neighbors, it's people, there's a whole group of people that you know, and they're all affected by this awful, awful, awful crime. And so we wanted to open it up in Compton because that's where we're from, and we have such strong background there, and that's where, you know, it's happening worldwide right now, and we just wanted people to realize you can have a resource to go. And we called it the Yetundi Price Resource Center because that's where the idea came from. And in a way, she's still that resource for so many other people, even though she's no longer with us.
That's beautiful. of all, what inspired it, and what is like some of your inspirations behind it, and also what, I mean, I think I know this, but like what inspired you to pay it forward? Because I don't know if you guys know, but this last weekend, just working with her, it's been such a joy because almost all of her team are women, and a majority of them are women of color, and everybody down from the DJ to the caterer to the chef to the, you know, everybody has, you know, it seems like very specific and intentional. So, you know, what was just like the whole thought behind it?
Well, it was intentional. We wanted to have this, we came to your shop and you're an amazing woman, and we wanted to have a whole woman crew from the DJ to this, to the food, to the bar, everything was what we wanted, a whole vision. So that was important for us, as well as the collection. What I'm inspired by is I'm inspired by pop culture. I'm also inspired by things that are affecting the world, and I'm inspired by things that are happening on Instagram. But I'm just being honest. So for me, that's kind of how I start when we build a collection, and then we kind of go from there. So pink is actually one of my favorite colors, which is why I love this shop so much, pink. And we have our pink sweaters as well, which are definitely fun and unisex. So when I start a collection, I think, who is our customer? And I think our customer is the woman that, or the person that feels really confident and is happy with who they are. But it's also for the person that's not feeling that great, like we all do on so many days that we just never want to admit, and we put on that face and pretend that we are. But you want to feel great, and you want to show that, you know, you want to show that you're feeling good about yourself. So that's how we kind of started the collection, and that's how it kind of grows.
And I just want to point out that, you know, I've seen a lot of like women in position, or people in position of yours that like have an investor or a backer that sort of come in and like pitch the person on an idea, and they're like, hey, you should do this because, you know, you have reach. And it's so beautiful. Like Serena, literally, she's not only backed this whole thing herself, but everything is her idea. She puts her hands on everything, to the point where we were setting up, she showed up at 10, I don't know if you guys saw my IG stories or hers, but she was literally here steaming all the clothing herself. And it was funny because there were some people on the block that walked by and they're like, we just walked by the store and Serena Williams was inside steaming clothes.
Well, yeah, we wanted it to be good, you know. I'm really hands-on. I'm super hands-on. I'm told I'm maybe too hands-on. But that's how I am in my career and everything that I do. You know, you're not successful if you're not passionate about it. And like I said, I used to make clothes for my dolls, you know, so my mom taught me how to sew. We used to go buy those old patterns from like the fabric stores, and I just remember her actually making our first clothes that we wore in professional tennis. So it's always been something that's in me, and I've been doing this for years. I did it at HSN for like 5 years, and I just needed to do it on my own. You know, I needed to believe in myself, and I needed to just invest in myself, and I had that opportunity. I'm so fortunate to have that opportunity, and I wasn't doing it. So I really had to have a session and a moment in myself and ask myself, why didn't I believe in myself enough to invest in myself? And so that was really important to me. And so once I realized I had that moment, I was like, I gotta do this. I've been wanting to do this for over a decade, and I still haven't done it, and I'm not getting any younger. So for me, that was really important. But it's been a great experience. I've been the only investor, but at the same time, I have so many unbelievable partners. This would have never happened if it wasn't for Beats. They are literally, I hope no one else is hearing this, but literally the best partner I've ever had. They're amazing. They put me in touch with an amazing woman, female company that put this together, Crown and Conquer, April and Portia. They like literally are superstars. You know, she's a superstar, she's to admit it. But literally our vision couldn't have come true without this whole group of people. And I have my team, the Serena team, which is amazing as well. It's mostly women. It's like Stephanie, and then, oh my God. The hanging sweaters and the gold is all in. Naomi, who is, I call every day at 11 p.m. She's the only person that I reply 2 seconds later, and it's These are the people that I have on my team. Dakota's priceless, literally priceless. Rakia, we just added her on the team, and I've known her for years. And I'm like, how come you wasn't here from the start? Like, this doesn't make sense. But she's really been able to help and turn the brand around. I mean, I just feel so fortunate to have these incredible women on our team. And there's so many women that aren't here that still work for us, and they are actually doing our other pop-up in Miami that's happening right now, which I literally can't believe. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. In Dallas. Yes, it's a lot of stuff happening. But it is having partners like that believe in your vision and introduce you to people that believe in you and believe in your vision is literally priceless.
Everything, yeah, absolutely.
And Stephanie's like my right hand. I mean, this is like, her husband and my husband are partners, so they own the firm Initialize, which invests in so many companies, in crazy companies. And it was godsend that we met, and so she's literally just amazing. It's so great to work. I can't speak enough about the team. It's so great to work with everyone. So thanks everybody. But Jill's like, she doesn't count because she's like literally the one, you know. Yeah. She's the Serena Williams of Asia. Yes. That's true. Right? And we should play like a little music right after that for like a 2-second for the beer.
We got a Drake song.
Right?
You know, I think that's the perfect that's the perfect takeaway of all this is that it doesn't matter what you've accomplished or what you've done or how far you've come, that it's still really important to have people that mirror you and that really see you for who you are and to really see yourself, you know, because it doesn't matter, you know, it's always, I think, especially for women, because we don't have a lot of like representation of what it looks like for us. We're literally on the forefront of creating that in this generation, I think, in the way that we're doing it now. So I think it's really beautiful that you you know, that you believed in yourself and that you've been obviously able to create this beautiful team.
Not to interrupt you, but I didn't believe in myself. And I had this moment where I was talking to my friend and I was telling her, oh, you gotta believe in yourself, you gotta invest in yourself, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So this is why this happened, was because I was trying to encourage someone else. So I encourage you guys to encourage other people because it actually helps you. And it would have never happened if I wasn't.
Do you believe in yourself now?
I do now. I mean, I did. I always did, but I realized there were some areas where I didn't. And that's okay, and I feel like that's normal. That's literally everyone. It's totally normal. But it's important to continue that and then know that every day you can improve and be better.
Yes, absolutely. Serena, I just want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's such a blessing to have you here. Thanks for blessing our space and just giving us all of your jewels and gems, and for this collection. You guys can shop the collection after.
Yes.
Thank you.